Yo, what's up YouTube? This PC I have today is the best $300 gaming PC in 2021. Let's get on with the build.
Alright, I hope you loved that absolutely ridiculous intro. Now let's move on with the motherboard. As the motherboard, we have the OEM HP ProDesk 400G1, and this is coming at only $11.91 for the LJ1150 socket. Now the CPU we have in this build today is the part that I absolutely love the most. This is one of the best price to performance CPUs out there. It's the Xeon E3-1241 V3. This is literally equivalent to an i7-4770 for $30 or $40 less than that processor, sometimes even more if you get a good deal. And it even has 100 megahertz more in speed than that processor as well. And it's coming in at 4334. And now we have the RAM for the system. And in this $300 gaming PC, I managed to snag 16 gigabytes of RAM to put in this. And they're very nice and sleek. It almost has kind of a carbon fiber-ish look to the RAM. It's the 2x8 gigabyte kit of 1600 megahertz DDR3 RAM for this system. Alright, let's talk about the CPU cooler on this system. This is just a genuine HP cooler I found online for $9.84. And the reason why is because on a lot of these motherboards, they have very proprietary connections, mounting, etc. So as you can see, that fits those holes perfectly, but a normal cooler for an LJ1150 system would not. So I had to do a lot. First, I took off the fan so that I could make sure I could spray paint this and make it look nice. I'm going for kind of a stealth black and green theme with this system. So then I went, of course, and spray painted it, and it actually came out very nice spray paint I had going here. But we came across a problem. I did get the CPU cooler, but I have no mounting for it. So you can see a normal mounting bracket does not fit that properly. So I proceeded to cut out every single corner so that I could still have the nut to be able to screw into on the back of the motherboard. And just for firmness and strength of this holding together very well, I went ahead and put double-sided tape on them to hold it there with a little bit of glue so that this was very sturdy and I would have no problems at all with this at all coming off. And the final product turned out very nice. As you can see, the screw holes are coming up just perfectly fine, and I was able to get this to work as if it was just normal. Alright, moving on to the adapter for this system. We actually only have one adapter throughout this whole computer, and that's really nice. It's easier to build with. It just looks better as well. And this is the 24-pin to 6-pin. As you can see, I bought two of them in Canadian dollars. So one of them in US is $7.43. Now, of course, I wanted to do kind of that stealth build in this system, so I spray painted the cables that were all colored to black so it would look a little bit cleaner. Alright, and here's the storage. You saw this exact SSD in my last video. I got it for $15.43, so I had to throw the extra one in this build right here. Such a great deal on that SSD. Now, with the more money we have in this $300 budget build, we had enough money to throw in 1 terabyte hard drive, which is really nice to see, to store some of those heavier games like Call of Duty. Now, moving on to the GPU, the graphics card. As you can see, when I picked this up, it's supposed to be red, but they actually painted over it blue. But no worries, we'll be doing our own paint job in this video as well. But it is the AMD Radeon HD 7950, the 3GB card. And honestly, what a great deal. I picked this up for $60. Now, as you can see, I actually did ask him for $70. But we got it to go down to $60 when I picked this up, and that is an absolute grab of the century when it comes to the GPU market being how it is. Alright, and the power supply. This unit is an EVGA 500 watt power supply, and of course it's 80 plus white certified. You always want those certifications to make sure your power supply doesn't blow anything up. And as you can see on the screen here, I actually spray painted a little bit of the ends of the cables that will be showing through the case, just because it's black sleeved, and then we have the black wires as well to go along with that stealth build. Alright, now the case, which of course you're going to see a lot of in B-roll. This case comes with 6 RGB fans. Oh my gosh, it looks absolutely phenomenal. Of course, the power supply basement, which helps with cable management, etc. And it comes in at $60.67 off new age. What a great deal here. Alright, y'all, so now this is going to be all the parts list and the exact total of everything all together. Under $300, $291.31. That is absolutely incredible. And you know what? Let's just go ahead and build this thing. Alright, now let's benchmark this PC. First up, we have Fortnite, and this actually ran extremely smooth. I got an average of 181 FPS, a minimum of 71 FPS, and a maximum of 257. Very playable, extremely fun time on this PC for Fortnite. Next up, we have Valorant, and this ran extremely smooth. Of course, we know that these esport titles run really well on these budget builds, and especially with the Xeon we have in here, that's pretty much an i7 4770. That 3.5 gigahertz is really what's helping it be able to hit these high frame rates in these games for high refresh rate monitors. So easily you could pair this with a 165 hertz monitor, just like Fortnite and some of the next titles as well. And here we have Overwatch. And Overwatch ran so well on this PC, it was ridiculous. I set the preset to high, and we still were getting an average of 110 FPS, a minimum of 73, and a max of 147 FPS. This ran extremely smooth, guys. And of course, if you wanted to hit high refresh rate frames like 120, 144, all you'd have to do is lower some of the graphical settings, and you would hit those frame rates easily. Next up, we have Rainbow Six Siege, and yes, I finally played the game for a benchmark instead of doing the in-game benchmark that it has for you. And honestly, I had a good time because of how well this PC ran this game. Easily, I was getting an average of 110 FPS, and as you can see on the screen, a minimum of 92 and a max of 130. This was so playable, and of course, if you wanted to bump that resolution scale down a little bit, you could hit those high refresh rate monitor FPS. Alright, now we have Rogue Company, which is another title I've thrown in recently for us to benchmark to see what kind of frames we can get on these type of games. Now, Rogue Company ran extremely well, and we put it at the high preset, and we still were getting an average frame rate of 104 FPS, a minimum of 46, and a max of 136. Now, of course, I say this in all of them. If you want to drop some of the settings, you will get a much higher frame rate. And this ran so well. And you know what's nice about this PC is I just have not been experiencing stutters in any of the benchmarks I did today. And now we have Splitgate, another esport competitive title right now. This ran extremely well, and we ran it at comp settings, which, if none of you know, that pretty much just means everything low but view distance at epic. And then in this case, since it has portal quality, we have those both at high, so you can see through it very easily. Another title that ran very well. And now a title that's a little bit harder to run on these budget systems, Apex Legends. And out of all the PCs we've built on this channel so far, this has ran it the best. We got an average of 74 FPS, and this is on 1080p low settings. So this actually ran extremely smooth. At least it's a little bit better than a console getting, 60 FPS. And this PC is worth $300. So great performance here. And the reason I think it probably did better than the last PCs we've been building is because it's had the most VRAM on the GPU than any of them. But anyways, another great title that ran well on this PC. And last but not least, we have GTA 5. Now, I actually accidentally locked the FPS at 60 instead of having an unlimited frame cap. So I don't know what the actual max FPS is, but for having it locked at 60, it literally did not move. As you can see, the minimum is 59 because it literally stayed at 60 the entire time and was so playable. And this was on very high settings, so this PC ran GTA 5 unbelievably well. So if you probably set that cap above 60, say you set it to 120, you probably be getting 100 plus FPS because of how consistent this 60 FPS was. Alright y'all, now with the build done, the B-roll, the benchmarks, this video is over. Now what do you think? Is this PC worth $300? Do you think this is a good budget option compared to something like a console where they have the Xbox Series S now that runs 120 FPS on some titles? So is this worth it? Comment down below, what do you think of this build? Should you build it? Is it worth it? And anyway guys, I'm going to go ahead and have to catch you on the next one.